Hello and welcome to Between Two Peers, a live stream show where the hosts invite a guest from around the known world to answer your pressing questions about life, the universe, and everything. This week is sponsored by Diet Coke, or regular Coke for those with less discerning tastes, and rum. Lots of rum. I am one half of your fabulous hosting crew, Tulia Alori. I'm a Laurel from the West Kingdom. And earlier I was giving the introduction spiel to our delightful guest and saying that I was in the SCA for 8,000 years, which is really not correct at all. It's more like 2,000 years in the scale of the SCA terms. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to my delightful co-host, Helga, for introducing herself.
Hi, I'm Helga. I'm a knight and a pelican and a knight, pelican, and royal peer. Like, I gotta remember, it's like either and, or actually put some commas into my own sentence. Like, grammar matters. I'm full of sass tonight. And on the other half of your host crew, I have been in the SCA for not as many years as Tulia. She's bridging on as many years as I've been alive, though.
No. No, I've been in for 26 years. No. Yeah, 26 years. So you've been in for 20?
I've been in for 17 years.
Yeah, as far as I know, you're not 26.
No. But I'm just saying. Yeah.
And then there's Baby Ninja.
And then there's Baby Ninja. Who?
Anyways, let's move on.
Yeah. So tonight our guest is the wonderful Duke John the Bearkiller, who has been in the SCA longer than I've been alive. And so we would love to hear a little bit about yourself.
Hey everybody, thank you for having me. I am Duke John the Bearkiller, called the Bastard. That is my registered name. Yes, I have Bastard. I have indeed been in the SCA for a very long time, since 74.
Oh, that predates me.
That
wow.
Predates, yes. A lot of normal, non-old people. I am a knight. I've been a knight for 44 years. I'm a pelican. I am a duke, and I hail from Glenavon, and I am currently, I work for the board of directors in the society as the president of the SCA. Thank you.
All the questions.
We're super excited to have you tonight.
Very excited to have you here. So with that, I'm going to go over the drinking game. Please note, some of the rules have changed, because if we're going to update the format, we might as well update the games. So, the drinking game now goes: drink whenever a host or guest uses a non-SCA name when referring to each other. Drink when somebody's pet appears on screen. Drink when somebody calls for a soapbox. Drink when somebody uses the term spite sprinkles or mentions toe beans. And now, for the guest rule. What do you wish to add tonight?
Because it's almost a weekend, I think we should drink every time the word peerage is used.
And this is how we die.
Yeah, this is how we all end up with alcohol poisoning. It's right there in the title.
Here we go. So before we roll into questions, I'm going to remind everybody you can submit questions in the show, or we will save them for a later date. And with that, the first question, Miss Sassy.
Okay, so this is specifically for our esteemed guest. How did you find the SCA?
Okay, prior to the SCA, I was into science fiction cons like a lot of people. There's a lot of crossover in the early days of the SCA. So a friend of mine and I used to hit a lot of cons in Nashville in summer of 1974. We were intoxicated in our hotel room in Nashville. Some guy came in through the open door, said, look, he was starting a cool group in Tennessee called the Society for Creative Anachronism, and we were to give him money, and he would send our money in for membership cards. And I gave him $3 for two of us, myself and my friend Dennis. And about a month later, I started getting messages left in my dorm room with my dorm mate from a guy who said he was with the Society for Creative Anarchism. And took about 2 weeks to sort that out, but that's how I got in.
Were you disappointed that it wasn't anarchists?
Well, at that time we were nearing the end of the Vietnam War. So I was probably, things were still very volatile and very very excited then. So I was pretty much glad that it was, medievally based, historically based.
All right. Helga?
The next question comes from Zara. How did you get the name Bearkiller?
Okay.
I like how you were just like, oh, okay, wait, okay, I got this one.
Thank you, Zara. Prior, I was a big guy. I was in high school, first year of college, couple years of college. I was into wrestling. My nickname up until one particular point was Gorilla, go with the hyphen, and had a T-shirt, black T-shirt said Gorilla. And then a friend came to my parents' house and said there was a sports show in Memphis and that they had a wrestling bear. So we gathered my family. My sister took her Polaroid. A bunch of our friends got together, went to the sports show. There was indeed a 6'4", 457-pound muzzled and declawed bear. That was the last day of the sports show. I got into it, got lucky, did a little heel lock on it, landed on top of the bear, and there were some pictures taken. And then immediately the bear got up and threw me out of the ring. But that bear killer thing sounded pretty darn cool, and that's how I picked it up. And because I am such a historically minded recreation and do such a study on anything, I took my real name and my nickname in, and that's how I got to be John the Bearkiller, as opposed to something historically accurate and well.
And so I think those were the photo that we showed in the, was of that moment,
Yes.
that grand moment.
That's awesome.
There's an interesting thing though. When we were there's a woman in the picture that had on a leopard skin bathing suit. And at the time we thought she was the oldest woman in the world to wear a bathing suit, when now I know she was probably in her 40s and very nice and very attractive, very sweet. But at the time I was, young and stupid, and we thought everybody over 20 was ancient.
How old were you?
I was probably 19.
Yeah. Well, yeah, anybody over 20 at that point definitely is 100 years old.
Pretty much.
Sure, we're 30.
There's like a cutoff where like you're under a certain age and like everybody's too old, and then you hit a certain age and then everybody's too young.
Yeah.
It's like,
I'm
whoa,
right there.
hardcore.
I'm like right there in that sweet spot. 42. It's just like, it's weird. It's weird. I'm sure it's just going to get weirder.
I'm pretty sure as life goes on, it just gets weirder. You ready for the next question?
Yeah, let's go on to the next question. So this is from Juliana. What do you think has been your most impactful decision you've made or been part of as a board member? I mean, I guess we're just going to like jump right in there.
Okay. Up until the last year, with my involvement in the last year, I would probably have said, other than settling a lawsuit when I first got on the board in '93, I would imagine altering the rules of the society to let same-sex couples be on the throne. Been a lot of stuff, I've been involved in the bullying harassment rules and a lot of other stuff. DEI, creation of that office, and the perfect officer who has ran it first and is running, another one is running it now, just great stuff for the SCA. But that was the one that sticks in my head because it was kind of going against the concept of 40 or so years of the SCA. Thought it was pretty cool to do it. I think that actually.
I would say in my time in being in the SCA, that has been like probably the biggest positive culture shift that I experienced just as a member. And yeah, it is absolutely one of those things where it was kind of like, duh. Why is this a big fight? And then it actually passed through, and suddenly it's a no big deal. We've had multiple reigns now, baronial, principality, and kingdom level, same sex. So, you don't like it? Find some other reenactment group. Bye. Okay, Sassy is going to be really sassy tonight, apparently.
You are so full of sass tonight.
I don't, maybe it's my Wednesday night sass. You know, that's where I hit my peak.
Oi. Well, with that, we're going to roll into the group questions. So the first one comes from Zara again, because she submitted a list of these, just so you know.
Yeah. It could have been all Zara questions.
Yeah. I hear that there's been at least one wardrobe malfunction at a coronation for Bearkiller. Can you please tell us that story? For the hosts, have you had anything like that happen?
I'm glad Zara is going to be on your show in 2 days because I will be there. And I cannot wait for this. You know, I've been on the throne a few times. One of my reigns, I really, really wanted to be serious. I didn't want to be a goofball. I didn't want to, wanted to be total serious. So coronation came up. I stood in front of the throne with our queen and standing up and sitting down and talking to people and just dead serious. No jokes, no jovial attitude, no beer on the throne. Just trying to be dead serious. But my coronation outfit had not been finished by the time of coronation. So the pants had been held together by Velcro. So turns out that after, 4 or 5 ups and downs and bowing and shaking hands with people, as a big guy, I sweated. My pants were starting to just open up. And right before it happened, I remember looking at the front row and there's a guy from Trimaris there. And he was like grinning at me. He's like, and I was like, you're a weird man. And get up, stand down. But he had seen what was happening. And I stood up and pants hit my ankles. The knights stood up, all got around me. It was like, to the king, and hustled me outside. But it totally fucked up any chance of my reign being serious the day of coronation. So that's
oh man.
Okay.
I like how the universe was just like, no.
Nope.
I'm sorry, no. Miss Sassy?
Okay, so I haven't had any major wardrobe malfunctions. I've had close calls, but nothing. And also, I'm usually behind the thrones. If I'm anywhere near the thrones at all, I'm behind them, which thankfully is helpful. I would say probably the closest thing that I can think of is a friend's laurel elevation was this hellaciously windy sight. Like it was a Beltane, and this new site that we used that would have been absolutely perfect and fine and beautiful, but there was like a series of like random little fuck ups that just conspired to make the site literally the worst site we've ever had, which is saying a lot. And we haven't been back since. Well, one of them was this like freak windstorm that came through, and because the way the site was situated, it created kind of the cyclone effect because it was sort of in a bowl. The where we were camped was like in this little, I can't even call it a valley. It was basically like this depression in the land. But the wind got in there and it just, and that was incredibly traumatizing. There was a lot of 1,000-yard stairs the entire event. It eventually gets shut down, actually, as soon as in fact, this was one of my boyfriend's reigns when he stepped up. Now that I think about it, he was stepping up as king. But in that particular previous reign's final court, my friend was getting elevated to the laurel, and I was the spokesperson that she'd asked to do this. And I get out there and I'm in this full Elizabethan, and I've got my hair all perfectly done and I've got my makeup all perfectly done, and I walk out and it's just sandstorm in my face. And there's photos of me on Facebook that I actually just recently saw come up again as like a, hey, you were doing this like 5 years ago or whatever, 7 years ago. And I look like I literally took like a face full of gravel, windswept gravel to my face. And I don't think that's necessarily a wardrobe malfunction. It's probably more like act of God level, but it was, and then she got pulled in on a swan chariot and looked gorgeous and beautiful, and she got elevated to the laurel, and we were all very happy. All the photos of me, though, just never, ever, ever look at those. They should be burned in a pile. Helga?
So I have a similar pants story as Queen.
Drink.
Actually, no. The royal rule is gone.
Oh shit! You're right.
So
that was so easy to get you with, though.
It was actually. That's the reason why I edited that rule.
Fair.
So we're in the cancer tournament, actually. And I've got a brand new set of Roost pants. They're delightful. They're made by one of my friends, but the ties are really short. And I'm out there fighting and everything else like that. And all of a sudden, like, my legs aren't moving right. And so as Queen, in the middle of the fight, I am now pantsed. Still like to note, I won that motherfucking fight. But now, like, it's one of the Atlantean speed tournaments. So it's like literally, as soon as you're done, go get in line. And so now here I am as Queen, like, fuck, like trying to get it. The string had gone back into the pants. I have my leg wraps on, my leg harness, my shoes, everything, and they're already starting to pair up the next round. And like literally everybody's just looking at me. I'm just like, I don't know. So now I have 3 of my court members under my tunic, trying to fix this problem so I can get to the next round. So I almost forfeit out of the tournament. But luckily they were just like, no, hang on, we'll wait for you. But like literally just had 3 of my court members face dive into my crotch at the side of the Eric. Luckily there's no photos that I've ever seen of that occur, thankfully. But like managed to jerry rig my pants back together so I could go back to fighting. I'm very grateful for those court members who are absolute saints for doing that, because I definitely smelled like fighter.
It just FYI, anyone listening, if you're ever at a Western event that I'm at, or any event that I'm at, and you have a wardrobe malfunction, come find me. I have safety pins, like literally lining my garb. I've usually pinned them to the inside of my hem. So you need a safety pin, find Tulia. I'm your girl. But especially if I'm on court, like I have like about 40 safety pins on my body at all times. So yeah, costume Laurel.
Yeah. Ready for the next question?
Yeah, let's do the next question. This one is from Her Majesty Elizabeth of Atenvelt. How do we create actual value in exchange for purchasing a membership?
That's a question that we have talked about extensively for like a decade or so, right? What is the value of a membership? Well, where actual value is, SCA membership is not very, this is my personal opinion, right? SCA membership is not that expensive. So we do run a corporate office, we do have insurance, we do run a lot of stuff, but there's obviously a need to do more. We've upgraded the website in the last year. Just try to find things in which we've got couple of committees that are looking for ways to do this, but it's something where we fight and argue with all the time. Where whatever ideas anybody has to add, we would greatly appreciate it. For what we charge and what our budgets are put out there, we're pretty tight. And then with the COVID issue, we are even tighter. So value for membership is a stable organization for 55 years that has allowed us to continue and exist legally in many places in the world, Canada, US. We've just would like more suggestions on how to improve that and hopefully not have to increase the cost of membership. But the cost of membership hasn't been raised in 10 years or so. So while we could always use better things to make our membership more valuable to each member, part of that, we all need to keep that in mind, is it's not that expensive, and it's managed to handle all kinds of legal and real issues. When we rent sites, we have to get additional insurance, riders for equestrian. Those aren't really considered individual membership perks. But we're working on probably improving that. Though, if you haven't heard, we're getting ready to release all the newsletters from behind the paywall, which is kind of an anti-perk if you think about it, because we're going to make them available to anybody who wants to go to the SCA website. Probably going to include minutes and a lot of other stuff. But Additional things, we've got a committee that's working, trying to get some outside revenue in. We've always relied on membership fees. That's pretty much it. And that's we pay for what we get. So, but any suggestions are good. And we've got a number of board members who would like to see more value. But from my standpoint, our budget and what we get and what we pay for, we're looking at a lot of stuff, trying to go online more, trying to do some stuff with the office and decrease costs. But whatever you got, whatever any suggestions, do it.
How do people submit suggestions?
You send it to your board ombudsman. If you go to the SCA.org website, at the upper right, it says officers. It'll bring up the board. You can send them to me. You can send them to the Society Seneschal. You can send them to any of the corporate officers, and they will see that it is passed on. Everything is read. Most stuff gets some type of answer. But if you've got suggestions on how to make things a little more valuable for each person, bring it in, because we are definitely rethinking everything about the SCA right now because of no friggin' events.
Yeah,
it's
kind of a great opportunity to kind of reset the board, and a lot, not the SCA board of directors, but reset like a chessboard, reset the board, and to give us all an opportunity to breathe, to take a step back, to analyze how the organization functions, and to make changes. So
yes,
yeah,
definitely.
So my answer to this, because I've ground out a couple things and I've got a marketing background, is I'd actually make a tiered membership with some stuff behind the paywall, but a tiered paywall thing. So like a base membership, you get all the letters, you get everything else like that that's currently there. You get access to newbie classes. So like organizing and bringing in teachers that if you're not a member, you pay like $1 to take the class, and all of that goes back to whatever local group or the teacher or like the SCA, whatever. You pick where that's going to go. So if you have the base membership, you have access to this level of classes. So basically it's an extra added bonus point to it. If you pay for this next level, you have access to this level of classes, which comes with the handouts and everything else like that. And again, like the paywall then it's an accessible paywall. And so if you pay for that membership, you have access to all of them. If you don't pay for the membership, the class is like between $1 and $5, depending on the tiered system you pay into. And so you're not excluding anybody from the base information on how the SCA runs, the information out there, like the letters that go out and royal words, basically all the stuff that was in the page and the minutes, because I believe that should be very much so out in the public and accountable. What you do is you make it incentivized to more information and more access to information. Also, you make it cheap enough that if somebody can't afford that extra bump for a year, somebody else could pay for whatever class they want to take. Like, cool, it's $2 to pay for you to get into this class. Great. And if you have 60 people show up, or you have 60 people accessing that class multiple times, you then have that extra revenue generated that supports the SCA without diminishing anybody else's pocketbook. So that's where I'd go. And then also as people age and they get more settled into jobs, they could be like, nope, I want the $75 membership, which gives me all access to this class. And if I'm not using this class access, I can then gift it to somebody else. So I'm basically paywalling somebody else in.
That's great. That's good. Those are good ideas.
That's a really good idea. And I'm just going to say, echoing, of course, Helga's idea, which is an actual concrete suggestion. But my answer is going to be saying, put it into perspective. The SCA charges very, very, very little for participation. In fact, you can participate without even paying to be a member. Most people who don't want to be an officer or reign or serve on the board of directors or anything like that, there's no requirement for you to purchase a membership. And so we have a very, very low bar for entry in that regard. And our membership fee, I think it's gone up. I think when I first joined, I think it was $25 a year. and then it went to 35, and now it's like what, 45?
40.
I just paid. I should know this. But yeah, it really, somebody in the comments made a really good comment about this, which is, most people fill up their gas tank for less or for more than it costs to pay for a membership for the SCA. So, on your semi-weekly or whatever gas trip, of course, during COVID, who knows how many times, like, oh my God, COVID gas mileage is so good.
Yeah.
I think we went like about 3 months before we had to fill our car back up again. But but yeah, like, it costs me about $40 every time I fill my car up. 45 bucks. And $45 for a year membership. And the thing is, though, is that it used to be the only real thing that you would get out of the membership is you get the access to the event information through the newsletters, and now all of that information is online. It goes up on the kingdom calendar. I'm speaking in the West Kingdom specifically, but other kingdoms are very similar. All of the information is available for free on your kingdom website, kingdom calendar, or your kingdom Facebook page. You can go to any of those two locations. You can find out all the information you need to know that 15 years ago, 10 years ago even, you had to pay your $45 a year to access, or get it through word of mouth. So it's one of those things that, put it into perspective, it's not a lot of money, but we could also be considering all these ways that we can make it a little bit more value add,
Yep.
incentivize it. So I'm not good
Agreed.
at thinking of incentives, though. So I'm big picture. I'm not, little picture.
That whole marketing degree helps you with at least a
Yeah.
couple things.
Well, so here's the funny thing. Like, I also had a career in marketing, but I was much more like the wordsmith side of marketing, and not the let's think of the good ideas to get people to do it. I was like, I can write you really good copy.
I was on the idea side of it, of like,
Yeah.
produce the ideas that people want. Now please fix my grammar.
Which is why we are a mighty team.
All right, are we ready for the next question?
Mhm.
Let's do this.
This question comes from Tulia.
That's me.
What are your feelings about the Filk's place in the SCA Bardic culture?
Okay, that's a really dangerous question to ask me. I have to be very careful. My wife is gasping in the other room. For the first 5-10 years I was in the SCA, it was fight, run around, did stuff. Then I started moving into filking. Gulf Wars 2000, we put on my rendition of the SCA Horror Show, which was an SCA version of the Rocky Horror Show, which had 3 or 4 things. It's all filk, pissed off a lot of people in the audience because I literally made fun of everybody. When I got in the SCA, I was influenced by Yang the Nauseating.
Oh,
Was
Robert Aspirin.
Yes, Robert Aspirin was
Yeah.
got a drink. Yeah. Was an anti-establishment person in the society. So I do a lot of filking. Most of my stuff is taking somebody else's work and stealing the tune and putting my own words in it. There's probably a lot of laws about that. But that I consider that SCA life. I think it adds to what the SCA is. I think it serves a purpose both to show that we're all capable of being the same human beings and not something special. Filk is wonderful. If it's done well, it is transcending. Actual good bardic, authentic stuff is the same way. But SCA Filk, I wrote a decoronation ceremony to the Wizard of Oz once for a friend of mine and his lady. I've done a lot of that. So I think SCA Filk is wonderful, and it should be recognized in all kingdoms. And the good ones should be made laurels.
Well, back in the day, some of them were.
Some of them were. Some of them were.
I was commenting in the comments on YouTube. I'm gesturing over here like you guys are sitting right next to me. Uh, but there's a huge overlap, particularly when you talk to SCA members of a certain age. There is a huge overlap with the science fiction fantasy convention going community and the SCA. And I'd say this holds true for people right up until about my age. And then the internet really takes off, and you start to see a little bit more people coming to the SCA through the internet connections, or, you know, kind of a little bit of a shift there. But I would say for sure in the 70s, in the 80s, 60s, 70s, and 80s, there was this huge influx of people in science fiction communities who had this, also had the SCA as well. And a lot of that was because we had a lot of overlap in cons where, especially in the Bay Area in California, we'd have things like DundraCon, which to this day, historically, the SCA has a very large and well-populated demo that goes out for that. And that's been going on for decades. BayCon is another one where the SCA always had a demo out there for decades. WonderCon, like you could go on with all of these sci-fi cons. And one of the things in the sci-fi community is Filk. Filk was something I think that actually came from the sci-fi community. And then because of the crossover into SCA, there was a lot of that early influx of Filk that was coming in. And so when I came in, when I came into the SCA as a, wide-eyed 15-year-old who could sing, all of my older friends in the SCA who were in their 20s and 30s were very much of the sci-fi con filking community. And so I learned all these sci-fi fantasy filks and that were sung at SCA events. They were actually, you'd wander into a bardic circle late at night and somebody would be singing Star Trekkin', like that's the way that it went. And so I learned filk was an important part of kind of, the SCA culture. And I felt that, historically speaking, if you take a broader, big step back and you look at the broader view, tunes were recycled. There is, you can think of like several, probably most people can think of at least one historical song, maybe not, SCA period, but a historical song that has many different lyric sets to it. And a classic example is Greensleeves, which predates Greensleeves. The tune predates Greensleeves, but the words were allegedly written by Henry VIII, and then later on it gets recycled again. Now it's a Christmas carol, but we sing at Christmas time. What child is this? So the idea of recycling tunes and creating new words to them, that it goes way, way back. And so the parody side of things, which I love because I'm an absurdist. I think parody is fun. I've been a fan of Weird Al since I was 8 years old. National treasure is, as long as we can infuse that and bring joy, in our own history and our own stories through music, that is of huge value. And so I have this kind of tangential, kind of a soapbox. I think I'm going to just call it preemptively. It's a bit of a soapbox, but it's not strictly filk related, but it's bardic related, which is the idea that we should, as SCA members, be creating songs about our own history, and that should be something that is lauded and valued. And in recent years, during my 26, 27 years in the SCA, I have seen that go from lauded and valued to shit on. Like, well, it's not historically accurate and you cannot document it and blah, 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 blah. So we don't, like, no, we need to be celebrating our own history. And if it comes in the form of a filk, and I have written some filk about SCA stuff in my life, you know, that's great. I think that should be honored. I think that should be valued. I think that should be passed on because that's part of us. It's in our DNA. Don't just throw it out because you can't document it to pre 1600, whatever. So that's my soapbox. Now everyone has to drink. Helga.
If people are having fun, do it. If they're good at it, reward them for it.
That's a mic drop.
Next question.
All right. Okay. Unless we have any other thoughts about it.
Let me put in something really quick,
Yeah, yeah.
kind of an advertisement. I didn't want to give everybody the impression that what I have ever done is of a lower quality, because my stuff is mostly crap and I'm very lazy. And this is not about me. This is about really good active folk singers. That is what I am basing my stuff on, not on me, because as everybody knows, I am the laziest artist literally in the entire world. Thank you.
I mean, I'm super lazy too. So the lazy
Ugh.
bard in me recognizes the lazy bard in you. I'll go for the low hanging fruit every time. All right. So next question. This is from, and I apologize if I butcher your name, Deirdre. You clearly see how the sausage gets made. Oftentimes, too much reality can taint the joy you find in the group. How do you maintain your fun and love of the society?
That's a legitimate question, because a lot of stuff that gets dealt with is the modern side of the SCA, the sanctions, stuff that people do wrong, legal issues and things like that. I was always kind of lucky. I've been on the board a few times, but I've always been, and this is my term, I am spackle, right? There's a hole for a limited period of time. They stick my big ass in there to fulfill the end of a board term. And then I do that. So I've been on for a while, but I've never done a full term. So I've always been able to take a break. Did a lot of it in the middle and late 90s. Got out of the SCA for about 4 or 5 years in the early 2000s after I had an injury and some other issues. And then recently, I got stuck on the board twice, but it was always to finish a term, never for the full 3.5 godless years of toil and stuff. So I've been able to take little vacations, and that helped me. But I've always been very lucky in the society, right? Had good hand speed, got a lot of free stuff, got a lot of stuff given to me, got a lot of people worked to make stuff that I was involved in look good on the throne. For me, it's a huge debt that I will never repay, because there's just too many good people in the SCA of all types, and that helps. But it is hard, and you do get hit. It is from when you step up to do a corporate position, and you get to see the sausage, and you get to see the friggin' sausage machine and the skin, and you get to see where the meat comes from. It can be kind of harsh, which, you get good people. We've got good people on the board now. You got everybody in the SCA who wants what's best. It's hard, but it's for good people who have done a whole lot more than I ever will. So that helps. It doesn't stop me from, maybe in the afternoon going in and wait till my wife gets home so she can pat me on the head and tell me, I don't suck. So, but it is hard sometimes, but it's worthwhile. Put your name in to be on the board.
Helga threatened to put my name on.
Oh, I need to do that, actually. I need to send your name in.
Oh, you're still gonna... I was like, I will fucking break up with you.
You and Elsie, and they already nominated Van. There's a couple other people
choice.
that I need to nominate onto the board, because you would do good things.
Van
or at least be fun interviews for them.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, that'll be really fun. The SCA background check.
I would not pass that, I don't think.
I don't think it's really a background check.
No.
Are you
very narrow?
No? Okay. Helga, would you like to answer the question?
Yeah, clearly see how the sausage gets made. So I've reigned a couple times now. I've been a part of many a court, and I've also been a part of many an investigation at this point. And I'll say that, how do you maintain your fun and love of the society? I hang out with newcomers. Go find the people that still see the stardust and leave your bullshit behind you. Because if you try to apply what you've seen to them, you're going to steal the game from them. And so what I'll say is that the newcomers saved me. I was about to quit actually the SCA. We had a very, very bad rain. We had a very hard rain, and it wasn't like Hans and I started shit. We just got a lot of shit dropped in our lap. And then my mom died right at the beginning of the rain. It was a hard, hard run. And by the time I was done and I was broken and I was very tired. And then I went to one of the newcomers events and I hung out with all of that just love. And everybody went from wearing funny clothing and being in bathrobes, because that's when you know you're burnt out, is when you look at somebody's really nice garb and you're like, you're wearing a
I was
fucking
gonna say
sweater.
that. The bathrobe
Um,
rule. Yeah. Yeah.
and saw it again because they gave me that gift. And so I will say is that's one of the reasons why I'm so supportive of our newcomers, and I'm so down on people that are like, well, this new person just did this. I'm like, because one, they don't know any better, so teach them, and two, fuck yes, they're bringing new ideas in, and maybe we'll all stop being stale and crusty. So
Mhm.
fuck off and enjoy them.
Yeah.
So find your
Oh, yeah.
newcomers; they'll save you because
Yep.
they still see it. Give back to that. Be there for them and enjoy the ride.
So, as my esteemed colleague said, I just want to echo that thought as well. But the other side of it for me, just as kind of more of an internal thing. How do I keep joy in the society and in the thing? Like, I've never reigned, but I'm a peer, and I've served on many courts and been very privy to things I probably shouldn't have been privy to. Uh, but I saw some sausage getting made, and it was very, not fun, and I just got the drink sign from Carius off camera. So, uh, but, the the thing that always helped me, and it's not easy to take a to watch all the crap and to be a part of dealing with all of the crap, but to be able to step back, and stepping back is fine. If you need to be like, "Yo, at the end of this reign, I'm taking a 6-month break or a year-long break or a break, I don't know how long it's gonna last, but I just need to take a break." That's cool. That is absolutely okay. Um, the other part of it, though, is I like to go back to the things that I find personal joy in, and one of the things I find personal joy in is sitting around a campfire singing silly songs with my friends. And I find that is incredibly restorative for me when I'm suffering under the weight of all of the SCA's ills and all the things that, I know could be better and aren't, and how do we fix it? And we can't fix it fast enough. And people are just, on fire left, right, and center. Um, the end of the day, I go back and I find that group of friends of mine. I know I can find them. I know anywhere I go at any event, I can find that group, and they may be sitting around gambling and shooting the shit and drinking, the best mead or whatever around a fire. And I sit there and I get warm and I have a bit to drink. Shouldn't rely on alcohol as much as I do, but whatever. I'm embracing it. Um, and and then the music comes out. The music flows out of me, and the music I find healing. So the music that I sing, the music that I sing with others, the things that we all come together and we create music together, like that's magic, that's healing, that's like, I mean, the basics of humanity right there. Fire, song, voices lifted, and that sustains me. So I try to find that. Apparently, we got another drink sign, so I got to drink again. I don't know what I said, but I guess I said something that we needed to drink.
The P word got dropped.
Well, that was
Like
earlier.
here.
I don't know, maybe somebody's behind, but I saw like somebody in the comments was all drink, and I'm like, okay, whatever.
I was being a dork earlier about the fact that we had 669, followers.
69, dude. Yeah.
Bitches.
Where's our 670?
We have it now,
Oh, we
actually.
do. Okay.
So are we ready to go to the next question?
Yeah, let's do it. Oh, we have 82 people watching. All right. Okay, I just refreshed. There's a whole thing. Only 47 likes, and we have 80 People watching, come on, people.
Hey, the doggo hasn't earned treats yet.
That doggo's never getting treats.
I was about to say, we can want to go to the commercial break after this question?
Yeah, let's do a commercial break after this question. Oh, do we not get Lady of the Lake?
She may be coming up. I don't know if she's in the house right now.
Okay. I keep waiting for her. And I'm like,
yeah. So this one comes, I'm gonna.
Patrona. Yeah.
Ah, I got it right. By the way, I suck at pronouncing names. If you watch the show, you know that I suck at pronouncing names. It's like a sport for everybody. What is the most extraordinary or unusual sight you have seen after dark at a war?
Carius is dying in the background. By the way, I think Carius has an answer for this.
So I guess for me it's like a choice between two. There's a household in the SCA called Shadow Legion, and they used to bring a big ass pink tent to Panzik's and other wars, and they would just put it up. It was pink walls, and it was just tacky and ugly and beautiful. And the place would always be packed. And coming up to that huge place and entering was just a wonderful thing. But in a war, the best evening, the most thing I ever saw was most important thing or hugely impacting on me was at a Lily's once where a Duke I know got blamed for stealing kegs, and he got run out of every pier party. Here. And he hid in the woods, and he denies it. But going around the parties and finding him sticking his head out of the woods was, for me, personally satisfying because he had dogged my ass for a decade or so, and there was finally some comeuppance. I know it is cheap. I know it is small. Very, very important to me. That such a little thing was just so real and so cool. You know, not romantic at all. I realize
that. So I'm a notoriously, like, I'm not a night person. I don't stay up super late as a rule. I'm light activated. So it hits about like 10, 11 o'clock and I'm usually like winding down. Everybody's winding up. It's kind of a curse. But the times that I've stayed up late at like major events or big wars that stick in my mind. Well, Great Western last year, actually, right about a year ago, a little bit, just a year ago-ish. I had never gone to Great Western. And so I'd been hearing stories about Great Western for a long time and how like kick-ass cool it was. And it was pretty cool, have to admit. It was 10 out of 10 would go again. But late at night, so my best friend was camping with another group, and now I'm completely blanking on their freaking name. But she was camping with this other group that does the big whiskey tasting. And I had never seen so many people lined up in one place to do whiskey tasting. And that household had that shit down to a science. Yeah, 3DC, exactly. Somebody just commented in the comments, 3DC. And I was like, this is just an amazing process of where all these people are going to shuffle up and want booze, and you guys got it all freaking dialed in. And I'm a big whiskey girl, so any whiskey you wanted to taste, anything, like your heart's desire. Like, I don't know if they had Pappy Van Winkle, but they might have, for God's sake. Like, it was pretty rad. And so yeah, I was blown away by that. That was kind of my one moment where I took a step back and I saw the line, I saw the people. Like, it had to have been like a couple hundred people, a lot of people in one space at night. And I was like, whoa. And yeah, mad props. Helga.
I'm gonna say that my first Panzik was a wild show of what. So I had only ever like done West Coast wars, and Panzik is not really what I would consider an SCA event. Actually, amusingly enough, Panzik is the culmination of every fantasy geek under the sun slamming together in acres of land, all with a mutually agreed rule set. Go to fucking Panzik at least once in your life. and make sure you're there for part of Peace Week. Because I'm actually not keen on the Panzik fighting. Like, Panzik fighting for me has been very dull. But I'm again used to West Coast wars where we're like, we're done with this scenario. Cool, next. I'm sorry, are you tired? Sit out one because there's like 10 more. But I'll have to say that like my personal experience for after show was we walked down, so we're down in the bog, and there's this one camp. So it's like right, we had just left this perfectly period Bardic camp. Like everything in there, like they're like legit garb checkers, and we're all sitting in there, and I got an invite in, and we're drinking the damn dragon drink that's like whatever the fuck that thing is. That thing will screw you up.
Is that the one you light on fire?
Yeah, the dragon's breath, I think it's called.
Dragon's breath, yeah. And it's
so we've been in there and singing Bardic and having fun and doing everything else like that, and they're like, oh, we have to go one camp over, you've got to see this. One camp over, perfectly period camp, from like the way they cook their food, everything else like that. We go one camp over, so out on the road, down this little fucking weird ass path, and here is this full-on built bar with naked as fuck elves on it and glowing drinks.
That
like,
sounds
not,
like my kind of place.
Like, not like, oh hey, like, oh, it's reacting to black light. No, whatever was the fuck in that drink itself was glowing. Also, all those elves really fucking hot. Like, good God. Like, thank you for fulfilling my weird ass, like, geeky fantasy for a moment. And they're serving these drinks. Everybody's being greatly polite about it. Like, nobody's being handsy. There's only a couple of us there. So at this point, I've got an elf standing on the bar, buck ass naked, leaned over, and he's talking to me like this close to my face while pouring this drink, which was delightful. But that memory has definitely stuck in my head of like, this is the best after show party. Like, the sun is down, no pants. Okay.
Pants free.
That was definitely a pants free camp.
Yeah, I need to go to Panzik. I've never been.
Panzik is hot and sweaty and terrible during the day and a delight at night. I suggest sleep through the day, party at night.
So this is what I hate, and I hate about Panzik. I will tell you this. Having never gone to Panzik, I will tell you, I hate every Westie that says, oh, it sucks, but the parties are amazing. Oh, come on. I'm like, fuck off. Yes, the weather is going to blow. It's August in Pennsylvania. Like, you know, yeah, okay. I'm going to hate the weather. I'm going to be miserable and hot, but the shopping and the parties, like, come on, I can do this. And I'll be on West Coast time, so I'll be awake at night. So I got it all planned out. Yep. It'll happen. Hopefully, maybe next year even.
Well, shall we roll the commercial and then come back?
Yes.
Sure.
Cool.
Over 290 times, heroes have met upon the Crapeau field, under the watchful eye of Constable Sir Bertrand de Gecklin. An unbroken line, come rain, shine, or pestilence. To determine the rightful tricentennial Crapeau, the Fellowship of the Argent Angel shall host a tournament in March of the year 2021. 3 days of fighting and feasting, of shared words and experiences, of courage and chivalry, shall end with one most worthy. The 300th Crapeau. Do you have what it takes? For more information, go to bit.ly/300 Crapeau to find the Facebook event page.
Owl's Nest Wares creates one-of-a-kind ink-woven trim and belts. Choose from a selection of pre-made items or contact the artist to create something to perfectly match your needs. They also make necklaces from colorful wooden beads to add a pop of color to your wardrobe. Check them out today and let them know that Between Two Peers sent you. You can find them on Facebook at Owl's Nest Wares. That's Owl's Nest Wares on Facebook.
And now we present Feed the Ravens. Feed the Ravens is your go-to place for Viking, Russ, and Slavic needs. Scott and Maggie have offered handcrafted historical textiles, jewelry, and campwear sourced from Europe for over a decade. And of course, they are the only source for the much sought-after Maggie mugs, one-of-a-kind handmade pottery based on historical examples from across medieval Europe. Check out their Etsy store at Feed the Ravens. That URL is etsy.com/shop/feedtheravens.
Over 290 times, heroes have met upon the Crapeau field, under the watchful eye of Constable Sir Bertrand de Gecklin. An unbroken line, come rain, shine, or pestilence. To determine the rightful tricentennial Crapeau, the Fellowship of the Argent Angel shall host a tournament in March of the year 2021. 3 days of fighting and feasting, of shared words and experiences, of courage and chivalry, shall end with one most worthy. The 300th Crapeau. Do you have what it takes? For more information, go to bit.ly/300 Crapeau to find the Facebook event page.
Owl's Nest.
We're just gonna giggle our way through this.
Yeah, sorry about that.
Yeah, pretty much. Come on.
It's a giggly show.
So Miss Sassy, it is your turn for a question.
Yeah, let's do this. Okay, so this is Steph Holt. I had to say that. Sorry. It's an Arrested Development reference. Anyway, Steph Holt asks, when does one no longer classify as a newbie? We were supposed to change that to new person.
Oh shit, I was.
It's okay. So I have this thing about newbie being kind of a pejorative. It's not really offensive. It's not really mean-spirited, but it is an othering. And so I try to be very respectful of new people and not by giving them a little nickname. So yeah, but the question was submitted like that.
Oh, okay. Well, I don't like the term either.
Yeah.
I don't like sorting people by how long they've been in the SCA into different classes, because we are a very caste-minded organization sometimes that can be very detrimental in a number of ways. It can really suck. I think when you're a newcomer and you come in and you feel a little more comfortable, you like what you've decided to wear, you've gotten help, you go to an event with anticipation and you know how to find your way to troll eventually, maybe you're no longer a newcomer. Maybe you're, but that's we all get a chance, a choice in how we want to play. How deep do you want to dive into the pool? How much do you want to spend? How much time do you want to roll into this? So you could have somebody who's technically kind of like, I've never read anything in my life, never even been to court. Don't go to court, just do this. They could kind of newcomers in a lot of ways, but when you start to know your way around an event and you're a little more comfortable, I think that's the basic sheen is gone, and then you're pretty much at your own devices and how far you want to go, and how much do you want to hug what's available, and how much do you want to enjoy it and do.
Helga?
Sorry, I was ordering a drink.
Wait, were you messaging husband?
I was messaging my husband, who's sitting on the other side of the wall right now, to be like, hey, can I?
At least he reads his text messages.
Yeah. So like, when are you no longer a newcomer? And I was supposed to actually change that. And I'm kind of, excuse me, I'm kind of glad that I didn't. Newbie for me has a negative connotation. Newcomer does not, because it's an easier to access name. Like when you tag somebody with like, oh, you're a noob, all of a sudden, like Gamer Geek right here, I'm like, sorry, if you call me a noob, I'm gonna smoke you.
Yeah, it's a noob.
Versus newcomer is like, oh yeah, no, like I'm recognizing that you're new. How can I help and facilitate you, finding around. And so when you're not on, when you get past being a newcomer, one, I don't think you actually ever do in this society. And here's my weird existential like feelings. As soon as I hand my husband my cup, there's still a little bit in it. You might have to pour it out.
So we can't soapbox yet.
Yeah, well, now I can soapbox. I'll drink afterwards.
Yeah.
Is that within the society we continue to learn and grow, and we find new avenues to like geek out on. So we become newcomers over and over and over again, and I think that's part of what feeds how long somebody can be within the SCA. We don't tend to stagnate because when we get bored, there's so many aspects of the SCA that we can be like, well, I'm bored with this. I'm going to go try archery. And then all of a sudden you have a new, very expensive hobby to go geek out on. But you become a newcomer again to it. You become a newcomer to a new aspect of the society where you have to learn the culture. You have to learn, the basic rules and how you handle, like what's going on there and the people that are involved in it. And so what I would say is that we're always a little bit of a newcomer in the society. And when we forget that is when we become jaded, actually. When I would say a basic newcomer to the society is, do you know how to identify your kingdom's crowns? Do you know where gate is? Do you know how to set up your tent? Like, you're over being a newcomer. You know how to give a little reverence to the crowns, and now you can sit and watch what's going on. And so that's what I would say is like you become not a newcomer, like a basic newcomer, very quickly because this society will drown you in the fire hose of knowledge. Remember, please don't drown your newcomers. Politely invite them to the knowledge.
Do not just dump it all on them.
Yeah.
Yeah. I have to echo what these two said. I felt, but how I felt, that's a kind of a different question, but at the same time answers this question. How I felt as a new person in the SCA, and believe me, I got raised in the era of noob, leet speak, noob, was until you were kind of established and people recognized you, you will always feel like you're kind of on the outskirts and a new person, noob. But I'm going to use the word noob because that is what it feels like. It feels a little pejorative. It feels a little, like I'm the other. I'm on the other side of this fence looking in, and I can't quite cross over. So it kind of depends on your own journey in the SCA, whether people. And then when I say people, I don't necessarily mean crowns. I don't necessarily mean, you start getting awards. But you show up at an event and people see you and recognize you. Maybe not know your name, but see you and recognize you. That's when I started to feel like I wasn't such a new person. And that was several years. Several years. Because I spent a lot of time on the fringe. Yeah. That was a whole other thing we've unpacked in other shows. But when I finally felt confident and like I'm part of this thing, I'm established, I would say I had been in the SCA for close to 15 years. That I could walk into any event and feel confident and feel, I wasn't a peer. It was not a whole thing about like, how many awards that I had gotten or anything like that, but that I kind of had face and name recognition. Yeah, it took me about 15 years to feel that way. Like I was no longer a new person. Like I no longer was like, who's this rando who just showed up? And I think that that's kind of what makes a lot of people feel like they can't get from new person to established member. So, again, if you see somebody at event after event after event, recognize that person, say something to them. Even if you have to, like me, who's terrible with names, introduce yourself 943 times so you can get their name. They're like, yes, I know who you are. And I'm like, but I can't remember your name because I'm like, can't. My brain is like a sieve. It is incredibly helpful though to be able to recognize the people that you're around you in some form or another. So I think that helps. But yeah, for me it was 10-15 years before I felt like I was no longer a new person. And this is a kingdom that has people going back to AS0. So you get established members who have been around for 55 years plus. And you do feel like when you walk in as a newcomer with your first, first event, and the SCA, especially in this kingdom, in the West Kingdom, in the West. Okay, fine. I've said it like 3 times. But people have been around since the first tournament. And so you do feel like, well, maybe that was kind of the joke, actually, that you're not, you'll never stop being a new person in the West Kingdom if you join anytime after 1966. So we're all new, except for Fleeg.
That's kind of the way the West Kingdom treats all the other kingdoms.
It does. Oh yeah, and the West is terrible about that, and that is a whole other soapbox that we need to just step back. We're not the best.
But we're ready for the next question?
Yeah, and now I'm going to get like a furious text message from Fleeg.
One more. We all get a chance to be a good memory or a bad memory for people who step out onto an event, and everybody remembers their first bad memory in this society.
Mm-hmm.
So we can affect that. And I would much rather be a good memory than an indifferent or shitty memory. And that's, a lot of folks, a lot of me, I do that sometimes. We all forget that. And you can't do that, because I know I would not have made it in the SCA and continued after a year, but there weren't a lot of tolerant people who put up with my ignorant crap.
Mm-hmm.
And I was worse than most.
Yeah.
Amusingly enough, some of our great members have the worst backgrounds in the SCA.
Oh, it's true. You stay long enough in the SCA, there's an evolutionary period, and I've seen some in my time. Granted, it's not been historically a very long time, but it's been a significant amount of time. I have seen people go from absolute worst behavior you can possibly imagine to redeemed and now valued member. And I'm not talking about legal worst behavior, because they would have been long gone. But just like they're throwing their weight around and they're the swinging dick and whatever, and they're just kind of like off-putting for those reasons. But they finally mature, their prefrontal cortex will fuse, and they learn empathy and how to relate to other people and some interpersonal skills, and suddenly they're an incredibly valued member of the society. So it can happen to all of us, hopefully, at some point. With me, I'm waiting. All right.
Are we ready for the last question before we go to audience submitted questions?
Yes.
So this one comes from Ro. What is the best shadow puppet story you have from an event?
Okay, just so I'm accurate, by shadow puppet, you mean what I think you mean, correct?
Oh yeah, we pulled this one out of the rated R section.
Okay, all right. Okay, so the best I've ever seen was, I have to be very careful with this.
No names.
We've always seen backlight stuff. SCA is always been a very free organization. We're a camping organization. But a long time ago, I saw a couple that were on a throne that were in their tent. There was some light in there. And they were talking. And you hear something, you could see the movement. You heard something that sounded suspiciously like begging. And you hear a slap, and you hear the woman say, "I told you never at an event." Now, the bad problem with that was there's like 60 people around. And for the next few months, it was difficult to be the king and get out of the tent, walk around, or get out in court, walk around, or show up at an event, walk around, with everybody going, you're kind of being, had a rough time there, buddy. Sorry. And that's multiple shadows and stuff, but that's the one I remember As I'm glad it wasn't me kind of thing.
Yeah, that's brutal.
It was brutal. It was frigging hilarious. And he was not able to forget it, but it was terribly brutal.
If you can't make fun of your friends, who can you make fun of? I will have to say mine was not necessarily a shadow puppet situation, but I've in fact told this story on the show before. I was walking out late at night in a field at an event, and it was the comet. Was it Shoemaker Levy? I always botch this. Anyway, mid 90s, big comet. You could see it with your naked eye. Like it looked like a thumb smudge of chalk in the sky. Like it just, And me and my friends wanted to go out and look at the sky because we're all a bunch of nerds. Teenage, underage nerds who can't legally drink at SCA events. So we're like, what else do we have to do? Well, let's go look at the night sky. And so we go look in the night sky, and I happen to like wander out into a field and look over in the distance, and I see two people literally going at it over a stump. And many years later, we're talking like 20 odd years later, it turns out it is my now boyfriend and his beloved at the time were having a moment where they thought they were being very sneaky, and they weren't. So, but we found that out through random conversation, and it was incredibly funny at the time. Where I was like, oh, remember that random comment? And he's like, yeah, I would just like went out and like me and my girlfriend, we got a little amorous. And I was like, that was you? So, full circle. Life is a circle.
Yeah. Okay. So does it count if I was in it? So I've got two for you. The quick one is one, I was solo in the tent stripping out of my armor as a ripped as fuck 19-year-old, because at that point in time I was breaking horses for a living and bucking hay and recovering from a shoulder surgery just through sheer anger. And apparently I was just like left the lamp on and then full on just stripped out of my armor in like the most Xena-like fashion ever. And apparently provided a very good show for my campmates. So I might be my own best show. Though the ultimate one I have for everybody is Great Western War. There's a bunch of us sitting around with the queen at the time because we're her guard, and we're all BSing and dicing and having fun, and a couple and some others entered a pavilion. There was just enough light to understand exactly what was going on there, and she was very vocal. Very, very vocal. And so at this point, we're like trying to dice, and then we're like, giggle, 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 giggle. Never mind. All of us are like, peek. This is a show with full audio. Okay, we're here. And it goes on for a while. It goes on long enough that we go back to dicing. Well, we're all laughing our asses off. And then they come to a crescendo. Everything is done. And then the coyotes start calling back. Like, hey, we were coming to find you. Like, whoa, hey, you got to keep making noise. There was a big pack of motherfucking coyotes right over the next fence line that had been coming into this call. And we all died. At this point in time, we had been trying to be polite and just rowdy partiers like Dyson next to this pavilion. And now at this point, we're calling the coyotes back. Like it turned into a good rowdy redneck fun. But yeah, that was definitely a show.
All right. Do we want to go into, oh God, I just copy and pasted something into the Zoom chat that it was not what I wanted to. Do we want to go into some user submitted or some viewer submitted questions?
Sure.
Okay. I wanted to ask the question Ghislaine dropped in to the chat is, do you feel that if the SCA was created in 2020, and let's pretend like the plague is not an issue for the sake of the question, could it take off and survive?
Okay, so you're starting off in the beginning. You're having to make your own rules. You have to do everything. You're competing with 4,000 things in the immediate town or online that you got to do. It would be hard. It would be small. It would have to rely on word of mouth. It would have to rely on everybody having a good time. And we'd probably have to start talking again on college campuses and other places to get the word out. Hopefully, whatever you did at a park or something to practice would draw attention, but you'd have to make everything up as you go along. It's possible. It's always hard. There's all kinds of cosplay and Disney and Marvel groups that have sprung up, and got a friend of mine's son called me a couple of days ago that he was lived in Texas, wanted to get involved in a new group that just got approved by Disney to do Star Wars recreation. It's a very small group. We could do it. We'd have to. It would be a tough thing. Possibly, but that's a hell of a question. Because you're, just on the face of it, you put everything up and you say, hey, come do this with all new people and all new members. I do not know. You throw in the virus part, it would probably have to wait a year or so, because our greatest strength is interaction between people. We're growing new skills with the web and shows like this and classes, just all kinds of stuff that we will continue. But starting over, it would take a whole lot of very interested people to keep it going and sell it. Tough question. Tough thing to even consider.
I actually have the very sad answer to this. I don't think the SCA could start over in 2020 and survive. We have a different subset of cult of personality now than when we had it start. And so it lived off word of mouth and some very dedicated people to start. And I don't actually think that we have that at this point in time. Where we have a very large depth of knowledge, many of us are spoiled. In the last couple generations have been spoiled with ease of access to knowledge without applying it to creating a system or creating a group. And so I think that also, like, if the SCA wasn't created, we wouldn't see all the fracture groups that we have today. We would see a lot more. I think we would see LARP being much heavier. I think that we would see Bond much heavier. But I don't know if what the SCA would restart well in 2020, which is one of the reasons why I'm so protective of it, because I want to continue to see it start. I want to see what generations before me brought to the table continue to go and adapt to this new society, because we have some really cool stuff that has come out of this, and we have some really amazing things, but I just don't know if it actually could get a seat in 2020 minus a pandemic, because just culturally we're not built that way.
Tough.
Which makes me sad.
Yeah. Well, yeah. The beautiful thing about the SCA was that it was created at the exact right time for something like the SCA to germinate and then flourish. I agree. Like, I've been a part of other groups that were trying to get off the ground and just could never get that toehold, could never maintain it, could never get past, a couple dozen members before it just kind of crashed. So yeah, I don't think it would take off in 2020. I don't think it would be a thing. But I guess you also have to go back to the fact that because the SCA exists, you have other organizations like various LARP organizations and the ones that split off from the SCA, and Renaissance fairs, which did not happen. It happened in the same vacuum that the SCA happened in, at roughly the same time that the SCA happened in. And so it was sort of this like sweet spot in the timeline, where the world was receptive to this kind of activity. But without the SCA, without Renaissance fairs, without those nascent LARP organizations, would we even have anything like that today? So yeah, it's like you take out that linchpin. If you went back with the time machine and you said, "Oh, the SCA doesn't exist anymore," would we have cosplay? Who knows? So it could be a chicken before the egg question. It could be you remove one thing from that timeline. Would it actually exist? Yes. Helga.
I think we'd still have cosplay because like geeks are gonna geek no matter how they
always
geek.
gonna geek, but would they be in a structured society? Because here's the thing: is I remember when cosplay first came about. I was on the internet right at that sweet spot time when cosplay became a thing, and it was very much an internet-based thing. It was not a let's all get together and let's cosplay things together. It was like, I'm gonna do this costume of this anime that I'm really into, and I'm gonna post pictures of it on the internet, and it's called cosplay. And then it grew from there. And again, it's that tie into the convention culture. So maybe we should just go back to the convention culture. If we go back far enough from Worldcon, which started in like the late 30s, if we didn't have Worldcon, would any of this exist? I tend to really, I'm spiraling out of my brain right now. You can always reel me back in with another question. What do we want to do?
Yeah. So should we go to the next question?
Yes,
Everybody's still good to go?
Let's stop Tulia from talking out of her ass for like 30 minutes.
Miss Sassy, do you want to select the next one, or shall I?
I thought, oh, did you do that one? I thought, oh yeah, you did do that one. Yeah, okay, hang on a second. Baby Ninja was really particular to a particular question that came in that I said was very...
actually, I'm totally sorry. I didn't get to ask my question. I chose one, but I didn't get to ask it.
Okay, whatever.
No, I got it. So hang on. So this one's from Ross.
Yes. Whose name, SCA name, I'm completely blanking on right now. I'm a piece of crap.
Ross face. He's amazing. And like, if anybody needs to ever market anything in the SCA, he's the person to fucking go to.
My former boss.
Asks, tell us about your fantasy books. And when will you finish the third one?
Thanks, Ross. Thanks, Tiberius, bastard. So yeah, I've got myself and my co-author Rich have a couple of books on Amazon. They're terrible. They're part of a series, Blood and the Blade. If you have $2.99 you never want to see again, by all means buy it. We finished the first two. Rich, who is 6'5", gorgeous, bald, gay, and the most good-looking man I've ever seen. He and I stand together, and it's quite remarkable to have people look at us. We had a problem. He was sick with cancer a couple of years ago, so it took him a while to get over that. So we have been derailed, followed immediately by the virus issues. So the third book is finished. It will finish the series. It has magic. It has the Vatican from the 1605 period. It's wonderfully trashy and bad. And when it comes out, you will be the first to know. As an aside, we auction off a couple of very violent deaths in the book at a con to help the con. You want to see pulp writing at its finest, maybe by the end of the year, maybe by the first quarter of next year. But it is finished, and we just need to edit that.
So after the show, if you can give us links to that, we'll actually post it on our Discord server.
You're very kind. Thank you.
Oh no, I'm gonna go spend $2.99. I'm gonna read this.
Read the second one. Don't get the first one. First one is, we sent it into Amazon and got it set up, and we did not edit it because we didn't understand the editing process because we were dumb as hell. So the second book is better. The third book is much better. But if you buy the first book and read it, it takes you like 30 minutes. Thank you. Thank you, Albert.
I'm gonna read all of them now. Like, I'm just gonna fangirl all over you. So I did, however, hear the splashing of the Lady of the Lake.
Oh yeah.
Oh, this is a solid question, along with a taco. Nice. What is your favorite pandemic snack?
Hey, there's a reason my body build is the way it is. It is fried chicken gizzards.
Mm.
You and I 100% can eat together. Like, one of my favorite snacks is like fried chicken hearts and garlic. Like, little garlic, a little bit of black pepper, and you fry those little fuckers up in some bacon grease. Oh, yes.
And Diet Coke.
My favorite snack. Cocktails.
Mm.
As if you want it to be. It's COVID. I don't snack. I'm not a huge snacker. Like I'm like, oh, I randomly found this hard-boiled egg in my fridge. Okay, cool. Or this piece of cheese. Like, yeah, I'm not a snacker. Sorry, I suck.
I'm actually gonna go with my favorite snack. I have rediscovered cottage cheese. And realistically, a little bowl of cottage cheese with some cayenne pepper and some red pepper flakes and a little bit of salt put onto it. Tits.
Tip.
So, I have a question for you guys,
Mm.
or for the two of you. Sorry, like gender neutral. Working on that. Do you wish to have a snarky question or a fun question? A snarky / heavy question or a fun question?
Snarky heavy.
Snarky.
Heavy.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
I'm gonna go with the Master at Arms question.
Baby Ninja really wants an answer to this
Yeah,
question.
if we're doing this for our tech crew, I would like to note.
Yeah.
From Anonymous, will Glenavon or Meridies ever have a homegrown Master at Arms? Why or why not?
You want me to be honest?
Yes,
What?
we want you to
I
be
mean, if
honest.
you want to be honest, like that's your
Okay.
choice.
All right. Meridies spun out of Vatenveld, which has its own culture, which is, separate from West, separate from East, separate from the East middle split. It's just, but when Meridies started, we were pretty much, 800 miles away from everybody. So we didn't get into a lot of the stuff that Vatenveld did. But one thing we did get was we got very heavy into field, right? Very heavy. And very heavy into the duty of the crown to have the knights, to have the chivalry do this and that. So for the first few decades in Meridies, there was awareness of people who were coming up who could possibly be knighted, whether or not they might suddenly stand up and declare themselves as unable to swear fealty, and then you would obligate it as the crown to make them a master, right? That's always been my understanding of the rules. If they said it when you ask them to swear fealty, the crown is obligated at that point to make them a master of arms. Doesn't have to be set up ahead of time, but so Meridies kind of was very careful in talking to people who were coming up, and they're, I don't want to say anti-MOA, but just very pro knighthood, chivalry, fealty, very pro. So that was, the first 20, 30 years that I was involved in Meridies. When Glenavon started to split off with the Principality in the 90s, we took a lot of Meridies as traditions, warped them some, added to them some, put a little New Orleans spin on them. And they've always had the same idea. It is entirely possible. My concept of this is it's entirely possible. I can see it happening. I know people who were deterred from doing that in the past and took the belt and chain as opposed to the baldric. It's possible it can be done. Do the best you can, be the best chivalric person you can, and ultimately it should be your decision anyway, so it's possible. It just never got started. In fact, we had in Meridies a long time ago, a guy named Starhound made it clear that he could not swear fealty. So Meridies made up a thing called the Knight's Bachelor, which is a gold chain with one black link to say the break that so you didn't have to swear fealty. It was a cheat.
Okay.
But you did not.
I have so many questions, and my
know.
little Western self is the motherfucker affronted by that.
Yes, it happened once, and but But Starhelm was an interesting individual. His religion was based on Arthur. He truly believed that Arthur was coming back, and he could not swear to anybody but Arthur. So he said, well, we'll make you a knight, but you can wear, what chain you want to wear. And that was what he did. He wanted to be a knight, but yeah, it's okay. I agree. You are right. Helga, you are 100% correct. It was a
so many
of everything that all of us before and all of us happened, but Starhelm was kind of a unique individual, and it never happened again. But it's possible in Meridays and Glenavon. Again, if you stand before the crown and the crown says, will you do this? And you go, no, I cannot. The crown had best go ahead and create an MOA, because you have already offered the accolade, and the accolade is split into two parts. So it's possible. There's been a lot of cultural leaning on people before, but it is possible. Depends on the person. I don't have a problem with it. I've never really had a problem with it.
All right. Baby Ninja, I hope that answered your question. He have a thumbs up.
I like how Baby Ninja's over there like, so much to think about.
It's not a thing in the West.
I have many thoughts on the Master at Arms thing, but you can turn me loose on that soapbox later.
Yeah. Late at night, drunk at an event. Best time. Have that conversation. Let's see. So, next question. I'm going to ask another Ghislaine question. Have you ever been underestimated in your martial skill or art? How badly did that go over for that person?
So, my martial skill, fought for a good long time. Was fortunate enough to win crown list 6 times out of 6 times entered. I never went to the losers bracket. Won them in 3 different decades. I was a short, round guy for part of it. I'd lose weight, get in shape, and I'd be a short, thin guy. I was underestimated for my entire career on the field, because most people didn't understand, if you weren't, 6 foot or taller, how somebody, so wee, teeny tiny person could be effective, which we all know now is crap. It's just general crap. So I have been underestimated for most of my SCA career, and that allowed me to be probably a little more successful. You do much better against somebody who's overconfident and underestimate your opponent. So yeah, a lot of stuff. The bardic, who artistic stuff. When I pay attention and study and actually work, I've been poet laureate and bard in 2 different kingdoms. And everyone kind of looks at me, because I'm can be a rather foul, goofy kind of guy. So, but yeah, been underestimated a lot. Poor them. I enjoyed being underestimated each and every time. Thank you, and keep it going.
Helga?
Oh. Would you like in arts or in fighting? You can pick one. So I'm gonna go with fighting, actually, in martial. I am 5'5" and double D tits. I can guarantee you I get a free shot at almost everybody that I fight. I love that bias too, because I've smoked people because of it. And mind you, there are people that I've had that were like, oh, fuck, you can fight. And then I've also had people that were like, well, maybe that was a fluke. My favorite one, though, is actually one of my very dear friends now, who I will not name drop, who, when we fought, and in the first fight we had, he walked over and said, we need to fight, little girl. And I went, yes, your grace. I was an unbelt at the time.
Oh, let me guess. Never mind.
No guessing. No guessing.
Okay, I'm not saying names. I'm not naming names.
He is literally one of my heroes and best friends now. Even though there's occasional times where I'm like, I'm gonna punch you in the mouth.
Office guy in Letterkenny?
Yeah. No, actually. Though that dude did knock me out to prove that I was willing to take. Toughest guy in Letterkenny did 100% knock me out.
He's the toughest guy in Letterkenny. What can you do?
Fuck yes, he is. But this is the second toughest guy in Letterkenny. And they might square off to figure it out.
Okay.
So got fights. I get like the hey little girl, we need to do a set of fights. I had just smoked his ex-squire. Like, and not just like smoked, like I'm gonna take and just fuck you over this hay bale and you can't tell me otherwise level, because he'd done the same thing where he underestimated me, and by the time that like the fight actually got rolling in his head, it was too late. I'd be like, I'm gonna hit you in the leg. Nope, short stick. I'm gonna hit you here. Nope, fucking short stick, motherfucker. And we get in this fight, and I proceed to put mad stick on this Duke's inner thigh. Like, not politely either. And at that point, he went to 11. Like, fight started out, that first fight was definitely that adjustment fight where I had the upper hand because I got underestimated. I would like to note this individual took me to motherfucking school after that. Like, I did not take that set of fights. I'm not even going to pretend that I took that set of fights. I got beaten like a fucking kindergartner, okay? But that first fight, like, and we get done and we pop off our helmets and everything else like that. I'm like, those were amazing fights. Like, that was solid stuff. And he was like, I need to apologize. I'm like, for the ass kicking you just applied to me? And he's like, no, for the fact in that first fight, I walked out and I expected you to fight like a girl. And you met me like somebody that was about to fuck me up.
Like, I hate that that's a bar you have to cross.
Like, and so that's a bar that I deal with on the regular. Like, especially, like, I've dealt with that my entire fighting career. I actually love that bar. Most people take it as a detriment. Give me that free fight. Like, congratulations. Please underestimate me. I'm gonna short stick you in the mouth. Like, ta-da! Thank you for the free one. Especially, please do that in a crown list. Like, I want like that 5th round crown fight that walks out and like, oh, you must be a fluke that you're here. No, I'm sorry. I'm here for a reason. So that's my like, yes, I get underestimated all the time, especially since I've got pink hair and facial piercings and everything else like that. Like, but it's a free one-off.
I don't fight as a rule, but yeah, actually, favorite where my skills have been underestimated. It hasn't happened a lot in my costuming, but where my skills have been drastically underestimated is in my bardic skills, because that is not the skill that I got laureled in, that I focused on for a long time. But I'm a vicious ass bard. And people are all like, oh, she just dresses pretty. And then, I whip my bardic dick out and it's over. I've done this numerous times. Probably most notably was when I was early on in my KSCA career. Little fringy me with my elf ears and my combat boots wanders into a competition, and everybody's like, whatever, I got this. And I end up winning the competition. I end up becoming Bard of the Principality, Bard of Sinagua. That was my favorite glorious moment of like, oh, you want me to recite Latin? I can recite Latin. Do you want me to sing a filk in a period style? I can sing a filk in a period style. I can write off the cuff poetry. You want me to do any of those things? Sure, gotcha. Like, I'm your girl. So yeah, that was probably my one like moment of I'm okay at this stuff. So one day, all y'all will learn how good I am.
The throwdown. Don't worry, I will never charge.
I like Katrina is like quotes me in the chat. I whip my bardic dick out. I'm like, yes.
So I think that's a drink, actually. If you say I whip my bardic dick out, 100% we're drinking over that one.
I don't have to prove that I'm great. I don't have anything to prove. I sing for the joy of it. If I happen to crush people in the process, oh, oops.
I'm sorry. That is, you are emotionally jerking off to it. Like, that's what I would like to
A
do.
little.
Like that is 100% emotionally. You're like, yes.
Oh, for sure. Well, one of the actually another example of this is kind of a similar situation. I was not at an SCA event, but I was at another costumed event, private party costume, whole thing. And they had an archery competition. And I walk up in my like noble garb and I'm all decked out to the nines and I just look like this, fancy bimbo basically. And I walk up and like the guy who's like running the archery competition does the whole thing. "Oh, milady, would you like to shoot?" And I'm like, "Yes, I would like to shoot." And he hands me the bow and he shows me how to knock the arrow and how to draw it back. "Oh, it's super hard." And how to aim and then, "Oh, but release." And I'm like, "Okay." Grab the arrow, knock it, just bullseye. Like bullseye, bullseye, bullseye. And he basically had to do the whole step back and be like, "I really did not expect that." And I'm like, "Sorry." Yeah, never ever underestimate me. That's what I'm saying.
Well, shall we go to the last question of the evening?
Let's do this.
Let me find it in our chat.
The last question we were going to talk about, the anatomically correct
teddy bear. People would like to know if you still have it. I would like to know how you got it.
Okay. My nickname is Bearkiller, John the Bearkiller. So somebody a long time ago, Lady None Yet, because she liked that name because she was still waiting on more excitement in the SCA, made a stuffed bear, maybe 16 inches tall, put a little red tunic on it, put a little white belt on it, had hairy brown chest hairs, and it was anatomically correct. And so I, would take it to court and take it around and go around and like flash people with it. And everybody was, probably grossly disgusted by this, to the point of somebody stole it. And whatever they did, I started getting postcards from Denmark, London, Asia, over a period of about 14 months. What they had done is, arranged ransom notes for the bear, and people, everywhere, like 15 or 16 of them. And they would mail it to my house. And I'd say, "Dear Dad, this is Harvey, your son. They're, buggering me. It's really, but I'm having fun." And then I'd get that from, Vienna or someplace. Went around for about 14 months. I never got that bear back, and I was very upset about this. Somehow during the transference of the bear, I never got the bear back.
Okay, so we're just putting it out on the show right now. If you know where this teddy bear is, it needs to come home.
Yeah.
Like, that is an SCA relic.
It is, and it's, I suspect I know who has it, but they've always denied it. I did get one soon after that, which is an almost identical clone, and but most people made me stop flashing people in court and stuff because, the kids and stuff.
I mean, do we just need to make a sensor bar for the bear? Like, we can just make like one out of like craft paper?
If I tell you what, if I get a chance, I'll find the bear upstairs. I'll send you a picture of it, because it does, the Harvey 2 still exists, but it was yet again one of my attempts not to be serious in the society that failed miserably. So, but he was kidnapped. He was taken from me a long time ago, and I did get a replacement.
That's anatomically correct.
The second one is also better anatomically.
It's got some like
yeah.
So I would like to know.
Bear.
I'm actually putting a challenge out to our guests and our audience. Is I would like to find the original. Like, if we can find the original and return it, I will figure out some reward. Like, I'm putting it out there right now. I'll figure out an award. I'll paint a skull.
How about a Maggie cup? We can get you a Maggie mug.
I'll find a Maggie cup. If we can find the original, like we all have Maggie cups, by the way. If we can find the original and get it back to Bearkiller, I will make sure you have a Maggie cup for doing that. Like,
That
end of
would
story.
be good.
Throwing down right now.
And
Let's
no
get
questions,
critical
no
back.
questions asked.
No questions asked. May the
Yeah.
word go out.
If you know where it is, we're not going to ask you how
Yeah.
or who. Just make sure it
Or
gets.
why?
I
It just gets-
don't want to get a bunch of postcards from all over the world and again about him being tortured.
Oh
would-
no!
But there are a lot of sick people around.
Yeah, people suck. I hate people,
Yeah.
except for you guys and all you people watching. You
Oh,
guys.
yeah, we are now officially, this is the Between Two Beers Teddy Bear Bounty. It's happening.
Well, on that note,
So
Big-
on that note, we're gonna wrap up the show. Bearkiller, I want to say thank you so much for being a guest on this show.
Thank
I
you.
was really nervous because you've been like one of the fictitious characters in my SCA career. Like you're literally a storybook character to me.
I
And
know.
so having you on as a real person and like getting to know you a little bit more and just getting to BS with you has been absolutely amazing. You are a stunning human being. Also, your accent is on point. And it has been an absolute joy, and I really think that you do the SCA a good service by being exactly who you are all the time. And if anybody tells you different, I'll fucking punch him in the mouth for you. Like, and I'm perfectly fine doing that. I've got nothing to lose.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Thank you.
thank you, John, for being on the show. You have lived up to all of the expectations that your fan club has set in advance. You've been delightful, wonderful, yeah, I think this has been a fantastic midweek show. Oh my gosh, we get to do it again in 2 days.
Yeah.
Yep.
With
Who's on our-
Jessica.
Yes.
Oh yeah.
Oh, you said mundane name. You said mundane name. We
Oh,
got a
shit,
drink
that's right,
here.
that's true.
Zara is on Friday, who is also somebody I am deeply looking forward towards. She is the Society Diversity, Equity and Inclusion Officer. So that'll be really cool. We get 2 like society level members in
Well,
1
and
week.
last week we had the social
Oh
media
yeah, and we
officer.
had we had 3.
Yeah,
Yeah, well,
Bridget.
yeah, week
Yep.
before. It was the week before. Yeah.
Oh, and Bridget was a motherfucking delight. Oh my
Yes.
god,
Oh,
is she
Bridget
just a
is
gem?
a motherfucking delight. By the way, that is her also mundane name, so we need to drink.
Tomorrow when I'm hungover writing Discovery, I'm blaming the show.
No, it's gonna be fun, girl. Don't worry, I'll
So,
be right there with you, writing claim packets.
With that, Your Grace, do you wish to do a shout out? Do you have anybody you would like to call out for their service or anything like that?
Yeah, my son Daniel, who is not in the SCA, and his lovely wife Katie were posting. I love you guys. Hope to see you soon. Wear your damn masks. Also, too, I'm going to drink this real quick.
Wait, pre-drinking?
Pre-drinking. I get the pleasure of working with Jessica and Bridget, and they sent me a
Zara and Anne.
Bearkiller. Yes. Sent me a Bearkiller mug. And it also says world's best boss, but I'm not really their boss. I'm just kind of somebody who just stands around and watches them do amazing things. I want to tell them they do great. Like to thank the board. Like to thank my friends. Ulrich, you're not on the show yet. You suck. My heart bleeds. It bleeds.
Reach out to us.
Reach out. They'll listen to you. Good. If you do reach out to them, don't tell them you're from Merdier's. Also my wife, who pretty much changed everything I was in the SCA about 27 years ago, because I am not the same person I was before that to what I am, and I owe her everything. And
people evolve and they get better.
Yes.
As they grow.
You talk about the way you handle newcomers. I just want everybody to know I was given 100 chances to do that. Not like you said, criminal and stuff, but treat people well, treat people who are new well, and because you never know, they're going to turn into one of the fabulous crew you have. You two most wonderful ladies that I have great admiration for. for God's sakes, cut each other some breaks, and you're all worth it. And I appreciate it, and thank you for having me.
Thank you for being on. This has been absolutely amazing.
This has been a joy.
Do you have a shout out?
Yeah, I've got a shout out always to our sister show, Ask the Knights. Ask the Knights, Ask the Knights, Ask the Knights. Usually because Logan's in the comments just being our little brother about it. But no, tune in to Ask the Knights live and hear some quality content. He's got some great shows lined up in the next couple of weeks. I'm particularly looking forward to what he's got coming on. So I'm just going to shoot out again our dear Logan Bath Wardens Ask the Knights live. There, I did it.
Put a permanent commercial on the show for him.
Kind of do actually need to do that, but he always asks the question, "What's your favorite internet show and why is it Ask the Knights live?" And I always have to say, "Because it's you, Logan. That's why."
Yep. So my shout out is to there is Bearkiller merchandise, and you should check it out. You can get your own t-shirt with the president of the SCA's face on it. You can get your own mug. You can make him blush profusely by sending him a message while wearing this merch. So you should have fun harassing the person that has ultimate control of the SCA. By wearing his face.
As not to diminish any of the other presidents of the SCA that have gone before, I don't think they've had merch.
I owe everything to a Duke in Glenavon named James the Holy. He is the one who started doing this as a fundraiser because he is a dickhead, but he is a talented dickhead, and he has and God help me, I've got like extra shirts with my face on it. It is sad.
I'm buying a tank top with your face on it. I just
he does this. He does all of this to raise money to generate funds to rebuild the fort at Gulf Wars.
Oh, that's awesome.
Oh, I'm sorry. Are you promoting fundraising for my favorite war of all time? I'm sorry. Everybody needs your face on a t-shirt or a mug. Like
private fundraising.
Gulf Wars is the best war.
It is the damn best war. Yes, it is.
I've never been, and I look forward to going to. Because I know as soon as the SCA is allowed to meet in person again, I am literally banking every single paycheck, all of my PTO. It's going to be all SCA wars all the time that year.
Yeah.
So
with that and the awesomeness that this show has been, I'm going to go ahead and wrap it up. I'm going to remind people, if you have merchants, or other shows that you wish to promote, we do our commercials for free. We do accept bribes. Like, just to be clear, I would love to bribe our tech crew and our commercial crew because they're the ones that put the hard-earned time in behind the scenes to make this happen.
We love bribes.
Yeah, they love bribes, by the way.
Everybody loves them.
So if you have a merchant that you would like to push, if you have another show that you would like to have a commercial on the show, please message us at Between Two Peers. We have a quick little form that you can fill out, and we will build a commercial for you so we can try to help support the other content that's out there, because other content matters. And what is going on in the pandemic is a huge group of us have all gotten together, and we are trying to promote the SCA online, because when we get back together, those connections matter. And this is how we continue to keep them. And this is how we continue to get to know other people from around the known world. So please send us that information so we can help support you in what you are doing. And then beyond that, our guest on Friday is Zara, who is the Society DEI officer and also sassy as fuck, just so you know. So please send us in those questions. Send us in all that content that you would like to see on Friday. She's looking forward to a good show. She's also really nervous. So let's have a little fun with this. And beyond that, we'll see you Friday. Thank you for continuing to support the show. Like and share. Your follows keep our little hearts happy. And so thank you so much and have a good evening.
Good night.
Good night, everybody. Thanks.